district attorney came in here a couple of years ago under our past administration and encouraged the commission to brave up and face the population and raise a new tax to help any type of thefts, break-ins, drugs, and every other problem he's got. So the option that we have, that we haven't discussed yet, is a wheel tax. I'm not for a wheel tax. I'm not, Jim, hear me out before you react. Please. I'm talking about a wheel tax on the ballot. And let the citizens decide if we want a wheel tax or not. I've got the language through elections office. If anybody is supportive of any subject that Roche just talked about, where we the sheriff and gives more deputies and hardware and outfits for them, let's take it to the radio. Let's take it to the newspaper. Let's take it to the community. Let's let the citizens have the final say so. I'm going to read you a little language. Wheel tax. By majority vote, this legislative body to place the question on the ballot. All we've got to do is have it written in a formal resolution, which hadn't happened yet. This body can vote, pass that resolution by majority vote, and the election headquarters, Mark Ward, will be required to put it on the ballot. If the county legislative body adopts a wheel tax resolution by majority vote of the county's legislative body, the legislative body may direct the county election commission to call a special election or to call an election with a regular election. So we've got next year's an election year. I think we've got elections in August, we've got elections in November. This ballot could be put during those two elections, or it could be a special call election just for the purpose of a wheel tax provision. I think once we pass the resolution and forward it to Mark Ward at the elections office, he's got no less than 75 days and no more than 90 days to have it put on the ballot. I'm not going to look that language up in here, but it's in the same rule. That being said, I think it needs to be talked about. Please, anybody in the audience, anybody in the commission thinks it's a bad idea, come to me and change my mind. Well, I think, let me say, Mr. Patton, I'm about to close, one more line. Should there be a disaster in this community, let's say somebody goes in and hurts a bunch of people at Fred or somewhere, I swear I would rather have the blood on the citizens' hands, the voters' hands, than this commission on my hands. And that being said, I'm going to sit down and listen to what everybody got to say about it. You got Mr. Patton.
Well, as far as the drug force, we have the Tennessee drug task force working that. I don't see where they can't do the job.
Well, we'll take it.
And another point is, if we do have to get down to a tax, why can't we levy a tax on fuel or on just county sales tax? I'm against any kind of tax that hits a certain part of the people in Benton County. I'm against property tax because that's going to hit a lot of poor people that can't afford it. And I'm against wheel tax because a lot of people have 4 vehicles that has kids in school and they can't afford it.
Mr. Patton, your argument is very convincing. I'm just glad that we have this conversation and we're not rushed, we're not voting on anything tonight. We're just talking about it.
All I'm saying is that we need to get a budget that don't require no tax increase.
I'm going to refer back just a moment. This is just an open suggestion for discussion, something to be on your mind when it does come up in time. It does be funded with a resolution or not. Go ahead.
I wanted to answer Mr. Patton's comment on the 24th Judicial Drug Task Force. The sheriff did attempt to participate in that. They do cover our county, but they more aggressively cover counties that actually participate in the task force. And we had attempted to do so, and we did for a while, and their activity here increased, which took some of the strain off of the sheriff's office, but the county commission decided not to fund that position anymore, so we're no longer a part of that, which means while they do cover our county, we don't get quite the same resources that the counties that participate in it do.
Mr. Roselle, I kind of disagree with that. Mr. Vance, if you'd like to state on that, I think Mr. Vance is gonna do the duty whether we are or not. It's his,
Just let me say a couple of things, because I think I missed my chance to speak. I guess I should have raised my hand during the
I want
citizens
to come
forum.
forward tonight, yes, sir.
Okay. I just have a couple of things that I want to say. Number one, God bless you all for dealing with budgetary issues. They are very, very tough issues. And when you've got people in need, trying to figure out how to get them the money has got to be one of the most challenging tasks. So I don't envy you that. And I'm not here to talk about a specific proposal, but I do want to echo my comments I made a few years ago, which is there are some very basic things that your sheriff, any sheriff, is going to need for law enforcement. In this county, a sheriff needs to keep at least 3 patrol vehicles out there at all times because the county is so big and they have to protect each other. And if you've got one on the north end and one on the south end and one or the other gets in trouble, you know how long it takes to get there. I mean, heck, just to get from here to Big Sandy, if you have to move in a hurry on that windy road, it's dangerous. So he needs to be able to keep a minimum number of cars and officers on there. And the sheriff needs to be able to pay his people a competitive wage with the other counties. If you don't, you're being penny wise and pound foolish, because the officers come here right out of school. We put a lot of work into training them. There's a lot of money that goes into that training, but then they can get $2 an hour by going to, say, Carroll County. Then that's what they're going to do. And so we have to stay competitive with the other counties. And I'm taking that message not just to Benton County, but to every county that I think is losing good officers. If you have any friends in the Decatur County Commission, they'll tell you that I spoke and said something very similar to them, that they're losing these tremendous training investments in people. And then the other bad thing about it is when they go, every rookie officer seems like sort of goes through the same pattern of making early mistakes. At some point in their first year, they're going to forget to get a warrant when they need one. At some point in their first year, they're going to just use verbal consent to search when they should have got it in writing, and the person's going to deny it later, and that's going to come back and bite them. And so every time something like that happens, a criminal goes. Most of the time, sometimes we're able to say, but a criminal goes, and that causes crime to increase. So, and there have been some other things that the sheriff has talked about as well, needing that would be very good for the community in terms of his ability to transport and get work crews out there. And I think you should listen carefully to what the sheriff has to say about that, because I don't believe that the sheriff is misstating a thing to you when the sheriff gets up and tells you what he needs to have a good department. Now, how he gets that, I can't even begin to unravel that, but he needs what he needs. And then, now I want to answer the question you asked me, which is the Drug Task Force. The Drug Task Force covers all 5 counties, and we will help in all 5 counties. And it is accurate to say that we're less active in counties that don't have an officer, but that's not punitive. That's because the county's assigned officer is our doorway into the county, and oftentimes how we find out what's going on so we know where we're to put up our operations. Now, sometimes we can get information that allows us to do it without that. And we do have projects ongoing in this community right now through the Drug Task Force. But it is easier and better when we've got an assigned officer, and if there are financial reasons why we don't have an assigned officer right now, I would really urge you guys to take a look at it. I promise you, I am not shortchanging my mama who lives down the street from me for Drug Task Force resources. So Benton County gets its fair share. But with an officer, an assigned officer, we could do a lot more, and we could be more effective at what we do. And I've got the microphone, so I'm going to say 2 more things really quickly that don't have to do with this, but you all represent the community and the context of the community, and I want you to know this. Number 1, we're having a rash of burglaries right now. It seems to be the worst it's been since I've been DA. It was really good for a few years because we got the usual suspects off the street, but we're having trouble with people breaking into houses, getting arrested, bonding out, and breaking in again. Law enforcement knows it, the sheriff knows it, I know it, and we are all working as hard as we can to put a stop to it. We've got our thinking caps on. We're trying things that haven't been done before. The other thing that I want folks to know about is fentanyl. We have had found more fentanyl in the district. It's mixed in with marijuana. I mean, not marijuana, again, heroin is what we found. But it can be mixed in marijuana, and somebody died last week from smoking marijuana that looked perfectly just like normal marijuana, but was laced with fentanyl, so it was pretty much instantly deadly. So, I hate to have a message that says buy marijuana from a trusted source. I think it's just another way to have a conversation with your kids about the dangers of marijuana, because with states legalizing it, it may be undercutting a lot of what you're trying to tell them. But if you can let them know about this fentanyl issue and how marijuana that may look just like any other could be deadly, maybe that's another way to make them stop and think when they're going to make an important life decision about what to do. And that was all I was going to say, but I do want to say one more thing, because I haven't said this. When I first came into office, I was putting a lot of people on what's called split sentences, because it was a way to get more time on them in the long run. And I think it was very effective in fighting crime, but those split sentences cost the county money in medical expenses. So now, over the course of the last 6 months, in order to make sure that these debates you're having are a little bit better than the ones you might otherwise have, we are switching over to more Tennessee Department of Corrections sentences, so that more of our local people who break the law will either be housed somewhere else, giving us space that we can use here, or the state will send payments to the county. There's only so much of that I can do. I'm limited by the strength of the evidence in our case, and also by what's really right and fair when it comes to how long we're going to lock people up for. But I am doing everything I can think of to lower the county's medical expenses and transportation expenses on these prisoners, and I'll continue to work with the sheriff and any of y'all who are interested in it on that as time goes on. I have used up way more time than what I think you meant to give me, but I apologize for that, but I haven't spoken to y'all in a long time. And again, I want to say thank you for doing what you're doing. I'm glad I don't have to do it, because it is very, very, very hard work and very emotional.
Mr. Bennett, I'd like to ask you one thing before we go.
Sure.
The commission, we're always surprised during the budget year or whatnot, where we have to pay for rehabilitation. If somebody in a psych house or ward or whatnot, and I'm told it's due to your charging the fine or whatever that goes in on to us. I mean, we're at like $80,000 sometimes.
Yes, that was brought to my attention about 18 months ago, the unintended consequences of that. What happened was, when you've got someone who breaks the law and maybe mentally have a mental problem, you usually want to extend that person more sympathy. So instead of maybe charging a felony, when we could charge a felony, maybe we charge a misdemeanor, because we know this person's not on there. The problem is, if we have them charged with a misdemeanor and the public defender's office requests a psych evaluation, everybody here pays for it. If I have them charged with a felony and the public defender requests a psych evaluation, the state pays for it. So it's completely counterintuitive, but when you've got someone who may be suffering from a mental health problem and you want to get them the best possible help, the way to do it is to charge them with a felony, not with a misdemeanor. And because it's counterintuitive, it did take me a little bit to figure that out, but we do have it, and I think you're going to start seeing a lot less of what you're seeing. Now, that number is never going to go to zero, because sometimes the person just hasn't committed a felony. I can't make an argument that it's a felony, and when it's clearly a misdemeanor, they've got that constitutional right, and the public defender's office is always going to ask for that if they think it's an issue. So, I'm not saying I can get that number down to zero. I can say that you're not going to see it as a big outlier the way you've seen it in past years as we move forward, because I'm now aware of this situation. The public defender's office is aware of it too. All of our job is to seek justice. You know, it's not the public defender's job to keep them out of jail. It's not my job to put everybody in jail. It's all of our job to seek justice. We don't always agree on that, of course, but it's to seek justice. So they understand that they can get better medical care for their clients when I charge them with a felony too. And so we're working together as much as we can to try to make sure that we get the best possible medical care for people at the lowest possible cost to the county.
General Snow, I've got a question.
Sure.
You know, Bill Lee, Governor Lee is very confident and concerned about the mental health in our jails and our prisons and that stuff. But isn't a repetitive offender, does that not fall into the felony category? The reason I say that is I know that at the end of the day, the mental health treatment is crucial to these inmates or suspects or what, you know, how you want to classify them. But the problem started back during when Governor Bredesen was in office and they were looking to cut TennCare costs and things like that. So that's when it got bargained down to a misdemeanor, it became the county's responsibility. So financially, it has hit us for $82,000 this year. And I feel like that because most of the mental health inmates or, you know, people that are locked up probably fall under some repetitive crime type statute that would probably label them as a felony. I'm just looking for the financial efficiency of this, while at the same time, let the state pay for the mental health treatment. I'm not against the mental health treatment, but I just feel like that, where does it stop? It's the same ones over and over and over.
Absolutely, and let me answer your question. There's two answers to your question. First of all, I wish Tennessee had a really solid 3 strikes law like you read about in the newspapers where these repeat offenders would become felonies. Instead, Tennessee has a patchwork. So there are some things that can become felonies if you do them over and over again that are misdemeanors. DUIs at your 4th or 5th becomes a felony. Domestic violence around your 3rd or 4th, that becomes a felony. But for most crimes, like your thefts that we see around here, there's nothing that takes your petty theft. Your 500th petty theft is still a misdemeanor. So there's plenty of room for improvement in those areas as well. I know Governor Lee is going to be doing a lot on criminal justice reform, and it's a great opportunity for us to get in there with him and perhaps make some progress on this issue. I know you have contact with the administration, I do too, so I think I can count on both of us to go and be pushing for that as part of what's going on here. And I think the governor's going to be very receptive to hearing about mental health and increasing mental health access. I have said that if they will build a 500-bed mental health facility in West Tennessee, our jail population will reduce by 500 people probably in a month. Because we are housing now plenty of mentally ill people in jails that don't need to be there. But when it comes to being creative to figure out a solution to this problem, I promise you, Mr. Mayor, I leave no stone unturned. For example, just to give you one example of what we're talking about here, let's see somebody that we know, because we spent some time with them, the elevator doesn't go all the way to the top floor. And they walk by a building, and they take a big ring and they throw it through that window. Well, traditionally that had been charged as misdemeanor vandalism, and then they'd be locked up for misdemeanor vandalism, and the county would be hooked on most for all the payments. But that could also be charged as attempted burglary, and attempted burglary is a felony. So if we charge it that way, even though it appears to be harsher, we can get the state to pay for the mental health, and the mental health is better quality. So when I talk about making these charging decisions and doing the best I can to get the best mental health for people while saving money, it's those kinds of charging decisions that I'm talking about. And the staff and I have conversations all the time about how to do that and do that better. So we are working on it, and you're going to see trends going in the right direction. But it's not going to be a sea change. Like I said, that 80,000 is going to come down. Revenues from state inmates going to go up. But none of them so much that it's going to fundamentally affect the nature of what we have to do here. We're just going to take it down to reasonable levels and take it from there. Did I answer your entire question?
Thoroughly.
Okay, I'm sorry. But yes, we'll continue to do that. Okay, any other questions while I'm up here?
I guess next time we get a bill like that, we just need to call you up there and get you involved. I will be calling you, Mr. Toad.
Well, like I said, there's some things that are just misdemeanors, and there's no way to charge it as a felony, and so that will be different. And again, I want to make clear, we still have the same compassion for these people. Just because it's charged as a felony doesn't mean they end up pleading guilty to a felony, because we always have the opportunity to reduce it there. And it doesn't mean that they go to prison, because we always have the option of signing a plea deal for something less serious than what we're charged. What we're talking about here is a pretrial charging decision that is completely counterintuitive, but if you follow it, will save the county money and, just as importantly, get people better access to better quality care, and that's what we're going to try to do.
I've got a question for you. Instead of putting them in an institution, what if they take, classes or go to the, office and have a.
Like counseling?
You know,
Uh, I think that the problem there is that once a motion is made to have a mental health exam, they get their mental health exam and then they follow all recommendations as made by the doctor. So inpatient treatment, which is very expensive, versus outpatient treatment, which is much cheaper, is a decision that's going to be made by a doctor. And I do not think that you'll convince a judge to override a doctor's decision on that, because then if the doctor turns out to be right, that judge could be in a lot of trouble if they overrode that medical
well, if
expertise.
the doctor has
However,
connections to the institution, there's a money thing there.
well, if we can find illegal money trading hands under the
Because I tell
table,
you, they're not cheap.
if we can find illegal money changing hands under the table anywhere, we'll bring the comptroller's folks in and we'll take care of it. A lot of times we have suspicions about things, but we don't have the evidence to get there, and I can only operate when I have evidence. Usually, most of police work is gathering the evidence. Most of the time, when you walk on the scene, you know pretty quickly who did it. And it doesn't even take somebody with a huge amount of police training to figure out who did it. You just look for the one who's more nervous than a regular person is, more nervous than the last 1,000 people he's dealt with in that situation. But then you still got to prove it. And you can't just walk in and tell a jury, hey, I know that's the one that did it. He looks scared. You know, you got to go in and put your evidence together.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Thank you.
I will be here for a while longer for some reason you want to hear, but you may already regret giving me that microphone, because you know I don't like to give it back.
Well, we got some information, just leave, I'll call you next time. Anything further, Commissioners and Commissioner Forum? If not, I'll ask our attorney if he'd like to make a speech.
Yeah, just quickly, I know it's been,
Quick brief.
so we can get to the business you all can handle tonight. I wasn't here last month, there was an issue that came up, and frankly, I want to take a minute on this. There was, during the commission portion, or comment portion last month, I think Commissioner Hill had made some comments about me not reviewing a contract for the Sheriff's Department and being, I guess, something to the effect of unreasonable delay on that. And after talking to the sheriff, just right before the meeting started tonight, that really is a product of a miscommunication, that it really was not an unreasonable delay on that. Just to be short, Commissioner Hill and I had never even spoken about any of that work release information. So I believe maybe she was on the outside of the information circle, basically, so maybe some of the comments that were made, or the comment that was made, really was a mistake. But talking to the sheriff tonight, basically it's related to the work release program, and the sheriff had asked me informally just to get some information from Henry County. Henry County does the work release program to help, and you've heard the sheriff talk about this a few times during meetings, about getting them jobs so they can help rehabilitate them when they come out of jail, things of that nature. And he had requested information from Henry County so he could model the program in Benton County, similar to the Henry County model. And he had gotten some information from them, but it literally was 3 sheets of paper. And he thought that there was more information. Surely there's more information out there about this to model our program like that. And he had asked me informally, just in between meetings, to look into that for him. Well, I had asked Sheriff Ballou, Captain Dean, and Lieutenant Powell for that information. And frankly, I don't control Henry County Sheriff's Department, but I made the request on a few occasions. And we weren't getting a timely response from that, and like I said, the sheriff thought that there was more information on these 3 sheets of paper. Come to find out, the short story is, 3 sheets of paper is all it was. There is no more information out there. So there really was nothing for me to do. There is no contract for me to review, for me to draft, for me to do anything to. He was just waiting for these 3 sheets of paper, and he thought there was more information. So I was not doing my job. I'm not a political person here. I told y'all from the very beginning, I'm not here to get re-elected or anything. I'm here to be independent, to do my job. And, frankly, there's a lot of things that's been going on in the county ever since Rick took office, of trying to fix things from the past, but it's kept us more busy than what we ever expected. And when I took the job, I think it was just gonna be a little bit of work. It's been a lot more. But I think if you ask the mayor, I won't speak for him, but I think they would think that I'm doing a good job on everything that I've done. And frankly, as a lawyer would tell you, hopefully will tell you the truth, that when you prioritize items, sometimes some items get lower priority. I mean, we can talk about this on another, we need to have an executive session at some point, if the commission wants to, maybe catch them up, but, I mean, the county has 4 lawsuits against it right now that, I've been trying to help diffuse and fix in those situations, and there's a lot of policies and procedures in this county that you would think would be in place, and they never were put in place before. There's a lot of work, just in the few months that I've been on the job here, and you don't want me involved in everything. Frankly, you don't want to pay that much to have me involved in everything. There's a lot of things the commission and the mayor can do on their own. But requests, just for this to be a learning lesson for the future for any commissioner, if there's something that you want me to look into, I know when I leave meetings or before meetings, we just informally talk about things, hey, I need to look at this, I need to look at that for me, and that's fine. I'll do whatever you want me to do. But the mayor and the chairperson of this commission, any work that I do has to be rerouted through them for me to actually work on it. Because the county, like any other county, has a few hundred employees. And I don't think this commission wants me to take phone calls from a few hundred people and then send you an outrageous bill every month for just answering all their questions that are repetitive and the same thing over and over again. So to try to limit that and make me more efficient, keep the costs low, to try to route my work through those individuals and for me just to work on those items. But I just want to address that just because it came up last month and I wasn't here. And I don't want anyone to question my integrity or anything about me, about my job that I'm doing. And I just want to take, a couple minutes just to address that. Okay.
Ms. Shaw, I think you've done a great job. Will you be willing next month to come in and remind I know that you said the lawsuit, bring the commissioners up to the date where you at?
Yeah, if the commission, anytime the commission wants to do an executive session, I'll make myself available. I would like to know in advance just so I can actually prepare something to talk about.
Let's do that next month if you would.
Yeah, if you're going to do that, that's good.
That'd be fine.
And when he says executive session, he means that there's some privileged information still out there that we just can't share in an open forum. So that's when he's talking about executive session. It's about basically behind closed doors section.
I think we need to be aware of it, whatever it's at, before it just blows up or whatever comes up. It's a big deal. Mayor, I talked to the sheriff, he's got to leave. Would you like to speak before he does, or would you share him a moment?
I'm like Rocky, I yield the floor.
Sheriff, you'd like to go in, I know you're already late, if you won't get here by 6:30, but I'll give you the floor.
I'm gonna have to leave, I'm sorry, I've got another agency coming in from Memphis to deal with us on a very crucial situation we've got, going on right now. I wanna run something by you, and it's touches base with, what, Mr. Stowe has said, and, I appreciate him coming in and updating us on some stuff that he's gonna be working with us on. Carroll County is fixing to get a 2% raise or more. They're already way ahead of us. I've lost 5 more COs in the last 2 weeks. I've got 7 of my COs who have put in applications with them. I spoke with them today. They're going to start advertising in the next 2 weeks that they're going to hire more COs. And so I expect to lose more. I'm supposed to have, by state requirement, a minimum of 6 on that shift. Right now, I'm down to where I'm going to have 4 on a shift. Y'all want me to fill the jail, and I filled it. And we're at maximum. And we're holding 40 state inmates right now. We get paid for it. That comes out to $584,000 a year with what we've got right now. Those numbers will fluctuate. I can't hold that many with only 4 people on the floor. I'm fixing to lose more. I do not want to because we just filled the jail. But if we don't do something pretty quick, pretty quick, we're fixing to have to start dumping these guys out. We're going to have to start sending them back because we don't have a choice. 4 people can't control 134, 138 people. They can't do it. They was doing it In prior administrations on 65 to 75, we took it up to 100, 110. Now we have maxed out, just like we was asked to do. Now we've done it, and now we're losing more and more COs, and I'm fixing to lose some more. If I lose about 3 more people, then we'll have to start dumping these state inmates out, because our locals will have to keep them here so we can bring them back to court. We got a bad situation, and I can't fix it, because they're not gonna work here for the kind of money that we're paying, and everybody else keeps getting increases all the way around us. I'm not trying to strong arm anybody, I'm just stating facts. I've been telling you for months this is coming. Well, it's here. And I don't know what I'm gonna do about it. I'm asking y'all to do whatever we can. If you've got any suggestions, I'm willing to work on it. But when we get to a certain point, the state says we have to have so many COs to provide medication, our security checks, movement of the prisoners, everything that we have to do. We don't have it right now, and we're not gonna have it. We're fixing to be so short we can't do anything. This has come up the last 2 weeks, and it's fixing to hit us again. And right now, I'm down to 4 people. I'm supposed to have a minimum of 6.
What is that, your jailers?
Sir?
Is that your jailers?
Yes, sir. And we're fixing to lose some more. I talked to the sheriff over today. They are getting another increase. McKenzie Police Department just took a $3 an hour raise. All the departments around us are going up. Even with the raise we requested, I don't know if we can, if we get it, I don't think we can keep it from happening. So we gotta do something, because if we don't, we're gonna lose this. We'll have to dump the state inmates that we took in as well. We'll have to lose first. Because our locals, we're gonna have to take them back to court all the time. If we dump them on somebody else, then we're gonna be paying out for them to stay somewhere else. So it's a situation that I've been talking about. It's coming for a while, and now it's here with what we've lost and what we're fixing to lose. And I don't know
What
how
do
to
you
fix
think it would take to keep jailers?
more money. Every one of them that's left has told me, Sheriff, I'm leaving for one reason, it's money. I can't work here when I make $2 or $3 more an hour somewhere else. I can't, I got a family to raise. I've said it.
What if you gave them $1 an hour raise, would that keep them?
No, sir. Not if they can make $3 more. I appreciate, I want to say this, the budget committee is working hard, and I'm not just saying that. I know they are, and I wouldn't have that situation out. Y'all got a load on you that you don't deserve. But I don't know where the money's gonna come from, I don't know how it's gonna come. But I don't want to start losing this state money that we've just built up so hard to get there. And now, because I can't pay my jailers, I can't keep them and stay within state regulations. So I'm gonna have to do something, plus it's a major safety issue. Half of these COs that I've got are females. And they can't go back there and break up fights in that jail. And they can't go back there and do certain things back in the male pods when it's a female. Or if you got a female and a male and go back there. The other night, at one point, I had one man in the tower, and I had one man on the floor. Somebody went home sick. Another one didn't show up for work, and nobody's coming in. And everything I'm having to pay out when I get to this point, when there's only a minimum, everything is overtime. Every time you have to call them in, they've done put in their hours. So it's costing us more money than what we would if they paid them. It's ain't a push to try to get raises. All this is just stating fact, because I'm fixing to have to start dumping these state inmates. I ain't got a choice, and I hate it because we just fill them up. We've got 15 we brought in from Ray County, that we're taking the same money, they're paying us the same money as the state pays, $39 a day. If you figured at $40 a day and 40 inmates, it comes out to $584,000 a year. That we've got a situation here, and we're gonna have to do something. And even if we cut it back, we're still not in regulation. If I get rid of them, I'm still not gonna be back where I need to be. That's just to stop the safety issue. We're required by the state to have 6 on a shift. We don't have it. And I can't hire anybody when nobody applies. And the ones that do apply, they can't pass a drug test, or they've got something in their background that they're not allowed to work in the jail. So I just want you to be aware of that. I don't mean to bring bad news, and I hate to have to leave early in this meeting, but we've got something very crucial going on. I've been telling you for a while too, I'll throw this in there, that the gangs are coming, the gangs are here. So I've been telling you for 5 years, I'm telling you they're here, and we've got a very serious situation in the north end of this county. Very serious.
Have you figured out how much more it would cost if you give just the jailers a $2 an hour raise?
I haven't got those figures, Mr. Patton. I don't know exactly what it would be. We can get the figures pretty easy on what it is.
Sheriff, what is the salary of the jail? What is his salary now?
I don't
What is
have
the
it.
difference of it in Carroll County?
It's gonna be about, well, let me see what I've got here, see if I can give it to you right quick.
Do you know what their hourly rate is?
I can answer that. Our correction officers top out at $12.80. After 2 years, they make $12.80 an hour, and that's where they stay.
How many COs do you guys have?
Right now, we're down to 17 correction officers, 6 of those are female. That's
So
all we've
we-
got left.
We just did the last payroll today, and you had $15,400 left in that line item. Could you disperse that for a pay raise?
Well, the fiscal year's over.
Well, I know, but I'm saying if you would have budgeted, ahead of time, at the beginning of the year, if you have those funds available at the end of the year that aren't being used, then why not budget for those to be used as a pay raise at the beginning of the year?
Because the money we budgeted was to run full staff.
Well, then with the $56,000 that was transferred from your deputies line item, you transferred $56,000 out of deputies. Could you not use that to give pay raises?
If
Well, so much of this is overtime. Whatever we put in there, it's gonna eat it up really fast. But everything we're doing on the deputy side as well, we're short 3 deputies. So everything we do is overtime, the same as it is in the jail.
Right.
And it's wearing us out on overtime, but when people don't apply, because everybody else is making more money, they won't even apply, and if they do, within 2 years, they're gone. So we're wasting 13,000 on each one. I see where
I'm just
you're
saying,
coming.
like, well, if we're saying that the hourly rate is the problem, okay, and you're wanting to full staff, I completely understand wanting to full staff. But if you're wanting to slowly make steps to improve that, you have $56,000 in deputies that was transferred out and spent on something else. Well, why not go ahead and use that $56,000 if you're not going to get the new hire, to go ahead and give those that you currently have a raise, or a new
Because
hire,
we
be
do-
able to give them a higher pay rate.
Can we maintain that after,
Well, whatever's currently in your budget is maintenance of effort, so we would have to give you what's currently there. So if you're not using that $56,000 towards their pay and it's being transferred out to elsewhere, why not use that to give those people that you currently have a pay raise?
if that'll work.
Give those that are there a pay raise, and then they're happy, then come back and say, look, now we're where they need to be. Now we need to increase the number of COs or deputies. Just an idea.
You're in a situation you're gonna lose what you got. You got to keep them.
If that will work, that's something we have to look at. What did you say our corrections officers are making?
1280 is top officer.
How about paying corrections in Carroll County 1637? So we're way off, and even worse if we go to Henry County, we're further behind. Humphreys County, we're a little bit closer. Decatur County, we're probably above Decatur County, but they are in a terrible situation in Decatur County.
I do agree that we are behind, and you guys do need to increase that. But if any point in time, I've offered this before. Last year, I offered, if you guys want to sit down and work through your budget and figure out an hourly pay raise using the excess funds that are there in those line items that you guys transfer out elsewhere, I'd be more than happy to sit down with you guys and help do that.
I appreciate that very much, and we could use the help on it, and I'm open to any and all suggestions at this point. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheriff, for what you give us. I know you got a situation you need to go get on.
I do. Thank y'all very much for
Thank you.
listening to me. We have got a bad situation going on that I do need to get to, so thank y'all.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Mayor.
All right, first of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Bill Johnson family for being here today and Representative Griffey, recognizing them. I have helped track with your life a little bit through your dad's Facebook page, and I am proud that you have an affinity for the color orange. I'll just leave it at that. And for Mr. Florence, our director, I think when you look at our school record and you go back over the tenure of his service and before him, Benton County has had stellar public schools for a long, long time. And I think when you look at ACT scores, you look at the graduation rate, you look at his service to his constituency, which is his school board. Our hats are off for the efforts that he has made in all the schools within our system. So, I could talk forever. Taxes, we've heard words, taxes, budgets. It all comes down to accuracy of money. If you ask me the question, depending on how you framed it, I could advocate for or against any type of taxes you want to put out there, depending on keeping it in the proper context. But I will say that government operations comes from property taxes. So we can look at these other taxes, we can look at other options, but we're never going to be an efficient government until we are able to identify how we handle the expenditures driving from our property tax. Usually will taxes are tied to something specific, whether it be schools or whether it be some type of initiative. Will taxes don't normally go to fund what you call general operations of government. So before you ever come to the citizens with something, we would have to be specific, and you would need to basically present the arguments properly so that they know what they're taking into place. That is what the budget process is for. You can ask about tax increases or keeping it steady and no tax increase. I just want an accurate budget. The whole thing I have done for the last 9.5 months is trying to get our financial situation to where it's at least accurate. My hats are off to the budget committee. Y'all have worked diligently. We've had arguments and debates and contentious type of environment, but that is the process of budget. I actually think the budget committee has probably worked harder over the last few months than ever before, and this debate is good because it means we're trying to get to the truth of our financial situation in this county. I can tell you that it has been spent very well. I've gone in there looking at, and we've got a very efficient government to one degree, and it comes down to salaries. And the sheriff talks about the sheriff's salaries. I can look at courthouse officials, or employees. I can look at school teachers and say there is a salary problem in this county, and we're never going to attract talent, retain talent, or whatever until we address it. Salaries all by itself will drive a tax increase. So all these other things that we talk about, it will come down to if we're willing to pay the people of this county who work for this county and serve this county what you feel they are worth, that alone will drive a tax increase. And I want you to be ready for this because we are there. The sheriff's department right now is whether the bad guy or the good guy. The sheriff's department in 8 counties in West Tennessee are driving tax increases. But we've got a few people on our budget committee that are working diligently to avoid such. And at the very least, reduce a tax increase that may or may not come. But I just want an accurate budget. And if we don't debate, if we don't challenge, if we don't look at the truth of the numbers, the last thing I want is for the commission to have to go to the people, raise taxes, only to find out that we were inaccurate in our information. That is an injustice to the citizens, it's an injustice to this commission. Let's work the budget first. Keep working the budget first. Let's get the most accurate budget possible. And at the end of the day, when all the dust is settled, whatever the need of the budget is, compared to the tax rate that we have or tax income, now you've got a decision to make. But I at least want y'all to work together to determine what the truth really is in our numbers. I think that makes your decision to raise taxes or not to raise taxes much more efficient and much more, I guess you'd say, just to the citizens. So I will get to an issue that we're going to have with our courts. We got General Stowe. Thank you for being here in our audience. We do need to have a discussion very soon about the efficiency of our court system and our judicial system. Again, if we're wasting 30,000, 40,000, well, there goes a sheriff's vehicle, there goes one deputy, there goes a pay increase. So again, we have got to get efficient in some other processes, again, to make our tax, to basically profits and losses more accurate to take to the citizens. We have two individuals in the audience today, Mr. Stu Schunk and Mr. Jim Crone, who y'all have met multiple times over the last, I guess, 6 months regarding the schools initiative to want to go to their energy efficient process. In the budget committee, in the property committee, probably in a couple other committees, and in this commission, we have said yes to approving this process. Now we can nitpick, can we have done that cheaper, or what does it cost to change out a light, and we're overthinking it. We're making a mountain out of a molehill. We have committed to this project. I hope no one comes to the floor tonight wanting to challenge this yet again. We need to approve this process tonight and get that off the table. I'm sure I probably am forgetting quite a bit, and I probably think that's probably a benefit to the commission, so at this time I'm going to yield back to the chairman.
Thank you. That's great. That moves us to line item 8. Approval of the minutes. Motion. Ms. Dana Burton, motion. Second, Sonny Hall. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. No. Carries. Line item 10, resolution to appoint. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped over 9. Report of public utilities. There's motion. Motion Angie. Second, Ms. Dana. All in favor say aye. Aye. No. That's it. Line item 9. Excuse me. Line item 10. Resolution to appoint members of the utility board. We've got an amendment to do on that. I ask for an amendment.
Well, the resolution that has been presented has two individuals being appointed and or reappointed. We had some conflicting information as to when one term expired. Miss Anita Hughes Springs will need to be removed from consideration tonight. That term that she would be filling does not come up until 2020. I apologize for not getting that to you in a timely manner, but we just clarified that today and went back to the minutes of the original resolution, and that person was appointed for a 4-year term ending in July of 2020. So I need to ask for an amendment to that resolution.
I make that amendment.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Cliff. Angie's seconded. All in favor? Aye. I have it.
And I make a motion that we, approve it as amended.
Motion, Ms. Dana Burton, second by Sonny Hall, approve this amendment. Whereas the term for James Warren Melton will be effective July the 1st, 2019, expires October 1st, 2023, to the public utilities. All in favor?
Aye.
No. Have it. Motion carries. Moves to line item 11, resolution to amend the previous resolution topographic area from May the 29th, resolution 02.
Motion.
Have a motion by Ms. Dana, second by Mr. Patton. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
No those, aye carries, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, ayes, give me a fifth tonight. Yes, sir.
Is there any way we can, if these are just okay and build, basically, is there any way we can combine any of these so we don't have to go to each one of them?
Ms. Dana?
Can I make a motion that we combine 03 through 11, which is on your thing 12 through 20?
Negative
Don't think we can do 11.
to 10. You can't do 11.
It's 19 though, is what she's saying. Is that right, Miss Dana? 19 to 2019061710.
To 11. Why not 11?
Because it's a roll call vote.
Yeah.
You can do
They're
all
all,
the votes.
they're all transferring funds.
Can't do it. You can only do the voice votes.
They're all budgeting.
On 20, you'll have to leave it, it's a roll call vote.
Because,
Yeah, 20.
okay, then combine all the way.
So 19, 12 to 19, is that right?
I'll second that.
Yes.
Resolution.
I have a motion by Ms. Dana, second by Angie. Okay, all in favor? Ayes. No. Motion to approve is combined.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Dana, second by Angie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No, carries it.
Number 20.
I'm gonna have this Ashley, I've had that lazy, and, I'm gonna let her read that out there, just, do that one.
We combine resolutions 3 through 10. Resolution 3 is resolution to budget funds in the amount of $2,952 within the animal shelter budget. Resolution 4 is budgeting funds in the amount of $1,086 within the sheriff's budget. Resolution budgeting funds in the amount of $6,863.51 within the sheriff's budget. Resolution 5. Resolution 6 is budgeting funds in the amount of $10,206.94 within the school's budget. Resolution 7 is budgeting funds in the amount of $3,850 within the school's budget. Resolution 8 is budgeting funds in the amount of $423.08 within the library budget. Resolution 9 is budgeting funds in the amount of $600 in the airport budget. And Resolution 10 is transferring funds in the amount of $256 within the school's budget. There's actually an amendment that needs to be made to one of the school's budget, school resolutions on a revenue account. Resolution 6. That's budgeting funds in the amount of $10,206.94. They had a typo in their revenue account. They put 47,114. She meant to put 47,112 commodities. That's wrong.
Okay, I make a
Everybody look at you. 06 resolution,
Need a motion to amend
I
that.
make a motion to amend it to have it.
Ms.
say
Dana made a motion, need a second.
Second
Ms.
behind.
Angie second. All in favor? I have it, no, thank you.
And I make a motion that we approve as amended.
Ms. Dana,
I'll second
Angie
that.
second. Approve Ms. Red. All in favor? Ayes have it, no, thank you. Item 20, resolution transferring funds in the amount of $300 within the beer budget, or the beer board budget.
Motion.
Motion by Dana Ferguson,
Second behind.
second by Hearn. All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call, that's what I'm sorry.
That's the whole reason why we did it.
Roll call, please.
Daryl Hicks,
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper,
Yes.
Mary Powers,
Yes.
Angie Hearn,
Yes.
Don Patton,
Yes.
Dana Ferguson,
Yes.
Kenneth Miller,
Yes.
Rocky Preston,
Yes.
Leah Dyke,
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward. Yes. Ward Plan.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote?
Thank you. Motion carries. Line item 21, resolution transfer of funds in the amount of 100 within the election commission budget.
I make a motion to amend that, please. It
Motion to-
needs to change from 100 to 600, and then downward decrease travel to 600. I mean, from 100, it needs to say 600. And then to increase, it's for the deputies for 500, and it's 101.51500.160.
Need a second?
A second.
Angie second. All in favor?
And I make a motion that we approve as amended.
Motion by Dana to approve as amended. Need a second?
Second behind it.
Have a roll call, please.
We can do it by
Daryl Hicks.
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers. Yes. Angie Hearn.
Yes.
Don Patton.
Yes.
Dana Ferguson.
Yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Leah Dyke.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward. Yes. Ward Plan.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote?
Motion carried. Moves to line item 22, resolution to transfer of funds in the amount of $1,352.81 within the sheriff budget.
Motion.
Motion by Patton,
Second
second by
behind.
Angie.
Quick question, Rochelle. In the resolution, is it supposed to be $1,150 or $1,352? Because if you look in the paragraph and your figures, it's only $1,150, but your total is $1,352.
It is 1,150.
Okay.
I don't know where I typed
That's
that.
our, it might be from
The
last.
total
month.
is 1,152.
1,150 even.
I make a motion to amend.
I'll second that motion.
Have a motion by Ms. Dana, second by Angie. All in favor? Aye. Have it, vote.
And I make a motion to approve as amended.
Dana. makes a
Second
motion.
by Hearn.
Second by Hearn. All in favor?
That's
That's roll call, I'm sorry.
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Daryl Hicks.
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers. Yes. Angie Hearn.
Yes.
Don Patton.
Yes.
Dana Ferguson.
Yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Leah Dyke.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
I abstain.
Roseanne Ward. Yes. Ward Plan.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote?
Motion carries. Line item 23, resolution transferring funds in the amount of $194 within the senior citizen budget.
Second by Hearn.
Second by Hearn. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Daryl Hicks.
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers. Yes. Angie Hearn.
Yes.
Don Patton.
Yes.
Dana Ferguson.
Yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Leah Dyke.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward.
Yes.
Ward Client.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Motion carried. Line item 24, resolution approving the transfer within the general fund in the amount of $7,212.25.
Motion.
Motion, Ms. Dana.
Second by
Angie. Roll call.
Darrell Hicks.
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers. Yes. Angie Hearn. Yes. Don Patton.
Yes.
Dana Ferguson.
Yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Leah Dyke.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward. Yes. Ward Client.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Motion carried. Line item 25, resolution appropriating funds in the amount of $4,979.18 from the unassigned fund balance within the county general fund in order to pay outstanding invoice received by the Tennessee State University Incorporated Extension.
This is money.
Have a motion, Mr. Patton, second by Dana, or Kenny. Give Kenny one.
And I will say that this money is agreed upon at the beginning, but somehow the invoices were mixed up and they forgot to turn them in.
I know, but it's still classified as new money. Now,
Roll call.
Darrell Hicks.
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers. Yes. Angie Hearn.
Yes.
Don Patton.
Yes.
Dana Ferguson.
yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Leah Dyke.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward. Yes. Ward Client.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Motion carried. Line item 26, resolution appropriating fund in the amount of $2,500 from unassigned fund balance within the county general and funds to meet the county coroner medical examiner payroll throughout the remainder of this fiscal year. Motion.
Motion.
Second
Sonny
by
Hall.
Hearn.
Second, Angie Hearn. Roll call,
This
please.
is new money.
New money.
Darrell Hicks.
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers. Yes. Angie Hearn.
Yes.
Don Patton.
Yes.
Dana Ferguson.
Yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Leah Dyke.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward.
Yes.
Ward Client.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Motion carried. Line item 27, resolution appropriating fund in the amount of $6,000 from the undersigned fund balance within the general fund in order to cover the trustee commission for the general fund on revenue received for the remainder of the fiscal year. Motion. Wake up, Hicks.
Motion.
Motion there, Ms. Roseanne. Second, Ms. Hicks.
I'll second.
This is new money, and can you tell me what it is exactly for, please?
I'll read to you what it says.
Doesn't it?
You want to wait on that? You want it?
Hicks, did you second that?
Yeah.
I will.
It's for the trustees commission, so, you know, as we could have to pay a commission on all of our revenue that's collected in each fund. And we're already running pretty short because we've collected quite a bit of revenue, and more revenue than before. So we're not gonna have enough, that line item will be negative for the month of June.
Further
All that's
discussion?
negative news, having to put it in the fund is also good news, maybe she's collected a lot of money.
Right,
That's what I'm reading that.
yeah, but I just wanted to clarify.
As you know, it's not a commission that goes to two.
You don't have roll call one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Any
She
other?
doesn't do that.
Darrell Hicks.
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers? Yes. Angie Kern?
Yes.
Don Patton?
Yes.
Dana Ferguson?
Yes.
Kenneth Miller?
Yes.
Rocky Preston?
Yes.
Leah Dyke?
Yes.
Gary Fur?
Yes.
Sonny Hall?
Yes.
Phil Melton?
Yes.
Doug Vickers?
Yes.
Michelle Hill?
Yes.
Roseanne Ward?
Yes.
Ward Plan?
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Line item 28, resolution appropriating funds in the amount of $35,668.14 from the undersigned fund balance within the general fund in order to pay 2 outstanding invoices received from the Barrett Group.
I'll make a motion and I got questions.
I'll make the second.
Have a motion by Ms. Ferguson, a second by Angie. And discussion.
Okay, this is new money, and we hired her, or their group, to find money that, we didn't know existed that was out there. She's done an outstanding job, I have to say that. But as I look here, there is for increase in accounting litigation tax value added. We voted to increase the litigation tax. That's not money that we did not know about. That's money that we knew about, that we said we wanted it. I don't see where we need to pay her for that. She didn't find it.
Well, she actually recommended, she was the one that actually brought it to the attention and recommended that it be done, and she was the one that drafted the resolution to do it. Big difference.
Okay, all right.
Ms. Perry.
Yes, do you have the number for what money she has found for the county?
Yes, ma'am.
It's on the resolution.
It's on your invoices in your packet. You'll see what she's found so far, and that she's invoicing for, and her 50%.
I think that one was like $3,000. She's gonna get on that location.
I don't know why we paid somebody $35,000 to do something that we could have hired somebody to look at and find themselves that's less than $5,000.
I don't think we could have done
I
that.
look at it as we hired expertise. She knew things to identify that others probably would not. I think she's the only one who offers this kind of service. She kind of has a niche. She's actually found us, that's 50%. She's only charging us for basically $70,000 worth of uncollected revenue, but she has already found us over $100,000. She hasn't even taken a commission on other monies that she has brought into the county. And I can tell you, I can't tell you right now because it's not official, but there's a lot more coming.
Where did she bring it from?
Don, she was the next state. She worked for the state at one time. So many loopholes and things that we didn't know about. And she done found hundreds and hundreds of dollars that we wouldn't have gotten. And
We only pay her
when we
one.
hired her, we not charging
Yeah.
for this. Sir, she's not charging us.
She will be charging us more money, but she has found this and it's only one time. We are now going to get the 50% that we're paying her. We're going to be getting.
And we'll charge on her what she finds. In other
I
words,
can't see if we're paying $35,000 for somebody to set a computer for 2 hours.
what she's done, though, Don, nobody else has got the knowledge of where to find it. She's going into the records that we did, that has been floating out there. This is new money.
Yeah, I
That
think
they
if
would've got
others
left.
ought to do what she's doing, they'd make more money.
Well, she got a good job, I'll say that, but anyway, she's good at what she does. She has found this new revenue. So what she's found, we wouldn't be getting a dime out of it.
I'll agree on the $31,744, but the commission voted on this $3,924 to increase that. I don't agree with that.
But I assume
Well,
that's
but
what
she
we did.
initiated that particular finding. She did the research and found out that we could actually do that. And so that was part of her. Again, we've traded off a few things. If we have to trade off that to get another $30,000 that she's collected for the county without a commission that she's charged, I think it's kind of a good, a good thing for the county. And she's got other, I guess you can say, items that she's gonna bring to us, in which we're gonna collect a lot more money in, but it will probably hit in the next fiscal year. I'll ask her to come and brief us. I mean, it's an excellent opportunity to educate ourselves more on the process of what she does. I'm always one of those that a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing, and I think she's been able to pay for herself, several times over when you look at that this is gonna be recurring money year after year after year.
I think we ought to wait and pay her when we get the money she's supposed to be
Well,
getting.
we've gotten this
You
money.
do, we do.
We've got it.
Yeah, and she got 50% of it.
But you won't get any more
But
of
that
it.
was part of her contract. I mean, we're living up to the contract that we.
Well, we made a bad contract with her.
Mr. Hicks, go ahead.
I think we ought to commend her for the job she done that we told her to do.
Yeah.
This commission voted 100% for her to do the job she's doing, and she's doing a wonderful job.
Don, this come up, just to refresh your mind, it come up several months ago, they voted to hire her, and she come in as a merit group. In fact, I think Mr. Rocky wanted to, introduce it to us, or brought the idea that this is what she does for a living. She finds your
She makes a
county.
good living.
She does do it, but, you know, she found all this revenue now, we wouldn't have a dime of it if she hadn't done what she done. And the agreement was we give her 50% of what she got on the first collection. She got 50% of that. She don't get no more on this revenue that she's found. From now, we draw the 100% off. She just gets on the first 50% of what she found that comes to the county.
And she's supposed to get us more money.
Well, in fact, now she's finding other things that people owe us that we didn't know about. That's what she does. And she,
So, how much did she find that we didn't know about?
it's all totaled up in the package. You look back at the
Yeah, it said,
She
it
got
said
it all
on
in
that paper,
there.
she found $31,000 for us.
Yeah.
So she got more than we
No,
got.
she found 60 something thousand. That's her figure.
And she's actually found us, another $34,000 in Hall's income tax that we haven't even brought into our coffers yet. We have to wait till the state pays that out for us probably in the next fiscal year. She's identified another $500,000 in unclaimed property that we will have to put in reserve, but I would much rather have it in the county's coffers than in the state of Tennessee's coffers. We can draw interest off that. She's well worth the expense that she has charged us, and if you want to stop by my office, I can walk you through some additional data.
I still think that we could find that.
Ms. Roseanne,
Yes, call for question.
Put it to a vote.
ready to go. All right, go on the vote. Roll call.
Darrell Hicks,
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper,
Yes.
Mary Powers, yes. Angie Hearn. Yes. Don Patton,
No.
Dana Ferguson,
Yes.
Kenneth Miller,
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Kalia Dye.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Rochelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward. Yes. Ward Plant.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Move to line item 29, resolution appropriating funds in the amount of $4,000 from the unassigned fund balance within the general fund in order to pay jury and witness fees for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Motion, yes.
Have a motion, Mr. Hicks is allowed.
Second.
Second by Roseanne. Thank y'all. Any discussion?
This is
Not-
new money.
You money, roll call vote.
Darrell Hicks.
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers. Yes. Angie Hearn. Yes. Don Patton.
Yes.
Dana Ferguson.
Yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Leah Dyke. Yes. Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Rochelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward. Yes. Ward Plant.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change your vote? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Moves us. Line item 30, the appointing of the notary. I have, since I tell there's two people.
Actually,
No. Need a motion? Need a motion on the approval of the notary.
Second, yes.
Second, Hicks, who first? Angie. All in favor, let me read this to you. Margaret Ellen Crafter and Melena Grace Bovin, B-O-D-V-E-N, is the only two we have. All in favor? Aye. No discussion. Ayes carried. Thank you. Moving to other business, item 31, I'd like to state after this meeting or this week, if somebody don't have it, I'd like to, Mr. Bill Key. He's been out, he has cancer, he's been taking treatments. I'll be taking up a collection for him, and anybody like to give to him, I'd like to bring that up. If you'd like to see him after the meeting, or this week, whatnot, leave it with the mayor, and I'll take it out there to him. He wanted to be here tonight, and he called and said he just wanted to make it. But he's sure you'll be here next month. I think he's lost his hair, one thing or another, just said that he is fighting, and he hopes to go do better. Yes, Ms. Dana.
I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2019-0617-21.
And I'll make a second by Hearn.
Before we do that, I need to ask for a motion to suspend the rules of order.
Motion.
Okay,
Second
motion
by
by
Hearn.
Tina, second by Angie. Listen,
She's been on this enough.
this is not, okay.
Yes.
Do a roll call on this.
Darrell Hicks.
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
No, this is a roll call for suspension of the rules.
Suspending the rules of order.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers.
Yes.
Angie Hearn.
Yes.
John Patton. Dana Ferguson.
Yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Lena Dye.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hoff.
Yes.
Phil Melvin.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward.
Yes.
Ward Plant.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote?
Motion carries. Who did that question? I'm looking for the resolution now, get this one on. Yes. Well, I'm sure of 22. Approval of carried for the suspending the rules of order, move with resolution 21. Need a motion? Motion, Mr. Hicks, second by Taylor.
We did it already.
Wherefore, the Benton County Commission is duly elected legislative body of Benton County, Tennessee. Where the Benton County Commission is charged with looking after the best interests of the citizens of Benton County, Tennessee. Whereas it is in the best interest of the citizens to provide good school and job, good places of learning and children, students of Benton, Tennessee. Whereas there is available to Benton County, Tennessee, an energy efficient school initiative loan agreement in accordance with TCA 49-17-101. Scope specified energy conservation measure. Wherefore the loan would be repaid over 15 years at 1.5% interest in the total amount of $1,957,000 to finish the project, the specified scope. Any discussion? We'll have roll call.
One question, Ward.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank the men from Train, the director of the school, very well written resolution here. I have one question. I'm seeing where the loan is for 15 years at 1.5%. It's a little over $1.9 million. My question is, the train or the director, the savings that the school is gonna be seeing on their electric bill, how is that money gonna find its way to debt service? The debt service, there's not a school debt service, it's a county debt service, and that's where all the bills are paid from. So my question is, how is the savings how does it travel to get to the debt service? Now you're the floor. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you again. Stu's the expert here, but
What is the saving? I guess we'll get that Barclays every receipt, that way I can.
well, I'll let Stu. Basically, they're upgrading our lighting, all the LEDs outside, everything but the football field. And then
Is this all your schools, Holly?
Every school. Yeah, that's the reason that the amount went down. I talked to Brett today. The original project was a little over 2.1, but the original project they recommended not doing elementary and Holiday because of the age of the buildings. But when Stu came, I said we have to do those two schools. So they put that in. But then when the state and the ESSI reviewed the project, they reduced those because that's what they do. Stu could better explain that than I do, but their engineers said, so training has worked with the project to make sure we still have the savings even though they reduced the amount of the loan. To answer Rocky's question about debt service, if you look in the budget, the amount of savings, that 170, we just reduced that from our electric bill and put that into debt service. And so that expenditure, we'll just pay that. And he called today, asked about it, and I did call the State Department, but Scott was out and he did not return my call. So I can't answer the question whether it's monthly, quarterly, biannual. I think it's biannual, but I may be wrong. But I'll let Stu answer
Sure.
if that didn't answer your question.
So I think that the one question Commissioner Rocky had is that to give you a little preface to it, the first payment would be due 30 days after the project is complete.
Can you talk a little louder so we can all hear that?
Oh, sure. The first payment would be due 30 days after the project is completed and signed off by the Director of Schools as final and accepted. So we anticipate anywhere from that to be 7 to 9 months from now. So that would be when the first payment's due. Now, I believe the state has it that as a default, you pay the lump sum on an annual basis. I don't know if they do monthly or quarterly or biannual payments. Just don't know that.
That's good. I accept the answer. Thank you.
But how it works between the school district and the county is the county will be responsible for making that payment, but the school will be responsible, as the director said, for paying the county back paying the county for those funds to make that payment. And he's already made the budget allocation in the budget by reducing the utility budget by a set amount, and then they'll be paid to the county. What some other school districts have done with their counties is they have a memorandum of understanding that they've used, so they have that document for future reference if there's a change of elected officials or school boards or directors of schools, but it's pretty straightforward and dictated by the EESI program. The county makes the payment, the school reimburses it out of the utility budget. That's how the whole program is set up.
Please say that again. What you just said, will you repeat that?
County commission will make the payment. School board will reimburse them out of the utility budget for that payment.
So if he don't realize the savings and we're just
If he doesn't realize the savings, we pay the difference to the school who's paying you.
But how are you gonna judge what he made the savings?
We make sure and verify the savings on an annual basis and provide a report. And if you overachieve the savings, that's fine. If you don't, we cut you a check for the difference.
How do you verify that?
We pull the bills every year and we verify that the savings meet.
What do you do? Look at the last year, the month of the last year?
Yeah, what we do is we've already established a utility baseline during the investment grade audit and the preliminary audits that we did. And that's how we're calculating the savings that we're comparing to. And then once the project is put in, then we'll come back and verify that the savings have been established against the baseline that was set probably 9 months ago. That we're-
I've got a question for you.
Yes.
If you run short on something else and you use that money to make up for it, you don't have the money to pay it.
It doesn't work that way. We've set aside that amount in debt service for this loan. All, that project's already been set out. There's no, train guarantees the savings. We've moved that amount that the project showed, it's right around the 170,000. We move it in there, and that's strictly for this loan, and we take care of it.
So in your budget,
I couldn't spend that money on anything. The school system can only spend that money on debt service.
For this loan.
okay, but what I'm asking is, in your budget, you have certain amounts of it budgeted for electricity,
Yes.
and you don't go over that,
No.
and you don't use it for anything else.
Well, if we need something, hopefully if we're under that, we can put that back into fund balance would be the ideal thing. But basically our electricity, we've had $650,000 budgeted the last 3 years, I think, and we took $170,000 off that utility bill and put it in to debt service to finalize this loan.
Commissioner Patton, if they made any financial moves like that, they would have to come before the commission to actually request that particular approval, and at that time we would know. But there, the only thing that we would have to be worried about is if they were pulling from debt service to pay some other type of bill, and that is what the commission is here to stop. That we would have that opportunity to say, no, find your money somewhere else. There's a check and balance in place for that.
Mr. Hicks?
Is Holiday the only school that's not getting allowance? No, everybody's getting.
Everybody's getting. What were you talking about then?
The original proposal, when they did the original proposal, Holiday and County Elementary with the HVAC control. The lights are going everywhere, but the engineers said that is not feasible to do Holiday Elementary, and I told Stu that was not acceptable. And so Train went back, put those two schools in the proposal, but when it went before the state council, the EESI, is that what they call it?
It's their technical advisory committee. It's made up of engineers from around the state that these projects on behalf of school districts in the state. So what they said, in essence, Director Lawrence is saying, is that because of the age of the schools, investing in the comprehensive building automation systems wasn't the smart thing to do. So in light of that, we're going with a portable, smart, Wi-Fi based thermostats. So in each classroom, to control anywhere there's an HVAC unit, there'll be one of these programmable Wi-Fi thermostats. And you can program it off your smartphone, you can go on the internet, program it so you can schedules, night setbacks and all. It's a smaller version of the other systems that are being installed, plus it's transportable. So in the event down the road, if you make a move, I don't know if you ever talked about it, but if you make a move or change one of those schools, you can take those controls and put them on the next location. So it was the next best thing. It's not the full control systems that we're doing at the other schools, but it'll still get drive savings and still give the district the opportunity to make schedule changes, setbacks, and have controls within the classrooms.
Thank you.
Sure. So to clarify, yes, all schools are getting
Yeah, that's what
exterior lighting, all schools, and then a full building automation systems, control systems that are all web-based in 5 of the schools, I believe, and Holiday and Camden, yes, Wi-Fi, smart stacks. And then did we answer?
Yes, sir. Good answer. Thank you. So, if you would like, I have copies of the memorandum of understanding that's been done between other school districts. Haywood's done it, Coffey's done it. I can provide it to the director.
it's good to have a paper trail and a documentation if you want it. It's not required by the state, it's not necessary, but it does provide, you know, for future reference if somebody wants to, you know, it's there. So that's up to you. Good question. I don't have any other comments to say. We're ready to go, so upon approval tonight, what I'd like to do is meet with the director and the county attorney to review the contract documents. He represents the school district, correct? I want to make this. Oh, he doesn't? Okay, well, whoever the legal representative, I'm so sorry. The legal representative for the school district, we're ready to go. We've already kind of pushed things for free so we can get started as soon as, while students are out, it's a lot better to do this work. I mentioned the 7 to 9 months on the duration of the project. We don't think it's going to take that long, but as we're installing the control systems, one of the things that we want to make sure is while we've got occupied schools, it's a lot easier and a lot better to do the commissioning of the controls based on the occupied load of the students in the different seasons. So we might go into spring a little bit, not because we're not done, but because we want to see the impact the students have on heating and cooling loads in the specific classrooms, as well as CO2. So for air quality. So that's why it might go a little bit longer. It's not going to take that long to put in LED lamps. We'll probably be done with the LED lamps in 4 weeks or less. So, any other questions?
You did this with any other schools locally?
In Tennessee, or we mean in the area, or?
Yeah,
we've done
part of Tennessee.
Yes, we've implemented projects like this, more extensive projects in Haywood County schools, Weakley County schools.
Chairman, I would like to call the question when he's done talking.
And probably 25 at least. We've done over $300 million in these projects in the last 8 years here in Tennessee.
If you did any, do you have the studies on any school for a year?
Yes.
So how much they save?
Oh, yes.
We've got questions, so.
We got a call for a vote, but I'm letting him speak. He won't.
No, that's fine. Yes, we do. We've had a very positive track record. In fact, you know, Scott Slusher was here with the ESI. He can't say one better over the other company, but we're one of their top ones as far as performance on these projects in the state. And
I personally would have liked to saw one of those studies before we even voted on this.
we can have one that provides all of it. So we get it to the mayor. We'll go from there. However you all represent.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. Ready for a roll call?
I make a motion that we,
We've already got
There's no motion.
get a study on this and let us all, look at it.
We've done that already.
For the
I
past 6
call the
months.
question.
I have a call for a question.
Call for a question, it's for a vote. President,
I
call for a
haven't,
vote.
I haven't found a study.
Daryl?
Commissioner Patton, we've gone through at least 5 committee meetings, to have, brought this to their attention at that time. You know, so far, all the confirmations have been there. This is what your fellow commission members are for. They've all recommended it, and we're
It
still.
wasn't passed out to the commissioners, was it?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
several times.
We come in and actually done approval on it months back. You and I discussed it the other day. And
Yeah, but we were shown studies that
Yes,
was
sir,
on other
yes. They done the
schools.
study during that time and then they come back to us. Yeah, they give us the study on it.
We've been called questions to put it to a
Yeah,
vote.
I'm just trying to answer your question about that, make it all happen. They call for a roll call. We're gonna go ahead and take a roll call vote.
Daryl Hicks?
Yes.
Johnny Hopper?
Yes.
Mary Powers? Yes. Angie Hearn?
Yes.
Don Patton?
Aye.
Dana Ferguson?
Yes.
Kenneth Miller?
Yes.
Rocky Preston?
Yes.
Leah Dyke?
Yes.
Gary Fur?
Yes.
Sonny Hall?
Yes.
Bill Melton?
Yes.
Doug Bickers?
Yes.
Rochelle Hill?
Yes.
Roseanne Ward? Yes. Ward Plan?
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Carries. Now moves to resolution 22, is a motion.
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 Second.
Dana, second by Mr. Darrell Hicks. Any discussion? Not.
Do you have more copies of your 22?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I thought I wouldn't have one.
This is sponsored by the Benton County
Could you pass
Sheriff
that
Kenny
down?
Christopher, whereas the Sheriff's Office sponsors a resolution in May to transfer funds from 171, and whereas the auditor has found the transfer was not worded correctly. Now therefore it be resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Benton County, Tennessee, assembled in regular session the 17th day of June 2019, that the fund in the amount of $9,835 be budgeted to the following line items: law enforcement equipment, $9,835, transfer out $9,835, increase to transfer in $9,835, increase to law enforcement equipment $9,835.
Motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Patton,
Second by Hearn.
second by Hearn.
We've already got a motion.
Roll call.
Motion in there.
Roll call.
Darrell Hicks,
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper,
Yes.
Mary Powers. Yes. Angie Hearn.
Yes.
Tom Patton.
Yes.
Dana Ferguson.
Yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Leah Dyke.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward. Yes. Ward Plant.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Motion carries. That moves to resolution 23.
Motion.
Have a motion by Mr.
Second.
Hicks, second by Angie. Whereas it appears that that the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget of Benton County, Tennessee will not be approved prior to the expiration of the existing fiscal year of 2018-2019 budget document. Now therefore it be resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Benton County, Tennessee, that amount set out on the 2018-2019 appropriation resolutions are hereby continued until adoption and state approval is received in the 2019-20 budget document. All in favor? All right, need a roll call vote. I'm sorry. Is there any discussion? We'll go on that. If no discussion, roll call.
Darrell Hicks,
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers. Yes. Angie Hearn.
Yes.
Don Patton.
Yes.
Dana Ferguson. Yes. Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Leah Dyke.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward. Yes. Ward Plant.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Resolution 24, sponsored by the Benton County Sheriff Kenny Christopher. Whereas the Benton County Sheriff has a few end of the year bookkeeping transfers that were recently brought to our attention and will need to be certified before the fiscal year ends. Whereas it will be necessary to transfer funds in the total amount $25,200 within the sheriff and jail budget in order to have sufficient fund to complete the fiscal year. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Benton County assembled regular session 17th day 2019 fund in the amount of $25,200 be transferred within the sheriff's jail budget as follows.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Patton. I've got the motion.
Second.
Second by Diane. Roll call.
Darrell Hicks.
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper.
Yes.
Mary Powers.
Yes.
Angie Hearn.
Yes.
Don Patton.
Yes.
Dana Ferguson.
Yes.
Kenneth Miller.
Yes.
Rocky Preston.
Yes.
Leah Dyke.
Yes.
Gary Fur.
Yes.
Sonny Hall.
Yes.
Bill Melton.
Yes.
Doug Bickers.
Yes.
Michelle Hill.
Yes.
Roseanne Ward. Yes. Ward Plant.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Resolution 25, sponsored by the Benton County Mayor Brent Lashley. Whereas it is recommendation of the Benton County Industrial Board to publicly sell lot number 4 at the Benton County Industrial Park. And whereas lot 4 is a 4.9 acre lot along Industrial Park Road located between Vocational Rehab and Jones Plastic. And whereas the industrial board would like to advertise a public sale of this lot by the sealed bid process with a minimal bid amount set by the county mayor. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Benton County, Tennessee, assembled in regular session the 17th day of June 2019. The county approved the public sale of lot 4 at the Benton County Industrial Park, with sales being conducted through the sealed bid process with a public bid opening of a minimal bid amount being set at the county mayor's discretion.
Motion.
Have a motion by Patton and Mr. Hoffman, second. Any discussion?
Why did they recommend it? Want to know.
I didn't make that, maybe with you.
I requested I've had someone approach us wanting to purchase a piece of property in the industrial park. And this is part of this initiative that we're gonna start removing ourselves of properties that we don't really need. And so this was actually a blessing, because this is gonna be the most difficult property to sell in the industrial park. So I wanted to make the process fair. I believe it should not be just okay for one individual that just wants to come up and purchase a property. I feel like it needs to go through the public process. And so I asked the industrial board to also consider that, to get their recommendation. They met and they provided their recommendation to sell that particular lot. I wanted to make sure that we were covering all our bases and that they had some input to that as well.
Then you're gonna do a minimum bid.
Right now, I'm looking at doing a minimal bid at $5,000 per acre. So it's roughly a 4.9 acre lot. That could change, and we'll do a little bit more market studies. But time is of the essence. You know, they're wanting to relocate, and I feel like it's they know what the minimal bid is, be publicly advertised. But you know what? They still got to outbid whoever else is interested in it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does that have water and sewer service right there?
Yes, well, it has the capability of it. You
Okay,
know,
thank you.
and so that's the one thing about the industrial park. It is well equipped as far as utilities go. And but get ready, because I'm going to be coming to this commission. We're going to rid ourselves of a lot of excess properties that we don't need. So in July, the list will be extensive for you to review.
Mr. Hicks.
I'm all for selling the property. Where's the money where are we gonna put the money?
Well, right now, the money's going to come back to the general fund. I don't. You know, we can debate further. If we want to allocate it back to the industrial park development, there are some things I would like to have pad-ready sites out there. But hey, I invite you to future industrial board meetings to attend, because we've had some good discussions.
Is this mark out to the industrial park, like on the poles at mark?
I've got it on my map down in the mayor's office, but basically it sits in this little corner between Jones Classic and the Tennessee Rehab building. And there's lot 2 and 3, 5 and 6. There's other lots out there. And they'll have to also comply to the covenants of the industrial park. It's not like they're going to be able to have free reign as to what they can do.
Are you going to get an appraisal on that before you set the minimum bid?
No, because I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. And I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. If someone wants to buy the worst piece of property out there in the industrial park, I think it's a pretty good trade-off to the citizens of the county. So, you know, that's one of them that, you know, it's not providing us any leverage for industrial recruitment.
He said a minimum bid of it, 5,000 per acre, and it's going to have to be there there.
I'm hoping at the end of the day to get $7,500 per acre, but we have to wait till this.
No further discussion. Roll call vote.
Darrell Hicks,
Yes.
Ronnie Hopper,
Yes.
Mary Powers, Angie Hearns,
Yes.
Don Patton,
Yes.
Dana Ferguson, Kenneth Miller,
Yes.
Roger Preston,
Yes.
Leah Dyke,
Yes.
Gary Fur,
Yes.
Sonny Hall,
Yes.
Bill Melton,
Yes.
Doug Vickers,
Yes.
Michelle Hill,
Yes.
Roseanne Ward, Ward Quinn.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Is there any further business before we adjourn? Yes, Roseanne?
It was brought to my attention a couple of weeks ago that we had purchased the other part of the land down by the old Lockhart building, the square that we had wanted in the beginning, and Mr. Williams would not sell it to us. So, I didn't know that we had purchased it, but I did find out that we had, and I asked Mayor Leslie about it tonight, so if any of the, other commissioners don't know anything about it, I'd like for him to kind of give us a little update on it.
My update is the commission gave me the right to basically purchase the property down there, and, again, I would have probably brought it before this month's commission, just for the consideration, but the way the resolution was worded, I had the authority to go ahead and purchase that particular lot. And I felt like that was more expedient. I've actually had discussions with commissioners just offline as to the dynamics of that property down there. Should that property ever come available, I was going to move on that. And so again, only because of time expediency, trying to basically purchase the properties within this fiscal year, I felt like it gave us an advantage. And had we waited and gone through this process, it's quite possibly that we would have been put at a disadvantage. We would might have moved up on the price. They might have realized that we needed that property much worse and adjusted the price or paid hard to get. And I believe having a continuous property of that complex area down there, I believe it makes up 4 properties, allows the county much more flexibility in our future development of that area. But this is something that I went over the previous resolution to ensure that the wording was there to go ahead and move on, and I just took the discretion to do that.
Well, I'm for purchasing the property, I'm not against it, and I'm glad you did, but I would like to have known before someone out in the community asked me about it, and I didn't know anything about it. So I would just like to know that the next time maybe we can just give us a heads up.
I apologize for that, and you know I have an open door, and I will gladly discuss anything that I do or move on, but it's you know, I'm not going to call an executive session, I'm not going to call a special meeting, I'm not going to go through all those processes. I'm not going to ask for approval and call 18 commissioners to ask them to do something that I was already empowered to do. I feel like it's a waste of time. But again, I don't believe you came through to ask me anything on previous properties as well. So I would have loved to have discussed that with you on multiple occasions as well. So again, I said, we're going to sell a lot of properties in July. A lot of properties. And I would want this commission involved in that process. But I do this with the best diligence possible and with the people's interest at heart. And I believe it's going to be a financial benefit to the citizens when I come to, this is what you empower me to do, to think these things out, to figure it out, and to leverage us to the greatest financial impact possible. But again, I've got a lot of ambitious property items on the docket for the next fiscal year. I highly encourage you to come by and sit down with me. I think any commissioner that's ever sat in front of me, I've never held anything back.
Well, I was at several meetings when we talked about purchasing the properties, and I did ask several questions.
And at that time, Mr. Williams was not an option.
And I did ask questions the night that we voted on it, so I wasn't out of the loop on it. I knew what we were voting on. But I'm just saying, and I agree that what you did was right. But I'd like to know, I mean, just by email or something, because they had already paid their money, and the deal was already done. But anyway, back to, I am glad that we bought it, but next time maybe just an email or something that we bought it.
I mean, good point. I mean, and time was of the essence, and I acted on the time element, and then we know vacations and things like that happen. And I just haven't had an opportunity to voice that to you correctly. Sorry about that. Excellent point, and we will go forward with that recommendation.
So y'all right behind, can you tell us what we billed for?
Again?
Can you tell us what we paid for?
We $35,000.
Ms. Davis.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion, second. All in favor? Aye. Aye, that is no. Meeting adjourned.